Don't know.
Well, that's how I was when I first went to my school last year. I'm like, what are all these things? And then we had Haggerty and all of this stuff, and just trying to kind of find a way to balance it out. So we're going to do this. All right, so our learning agenda today is what is UFLI, and looking at the UFLI lesson structure while also seeing how it incorporates, it is exactly like your phonics bank that you guys spent so much time creating. So we already know UFLI is a scope and sequence. UFLI is a resource. This is what we have been told as curriculum people. It is a tool. It is not the end all be all. It is a resource for you to use to support your students. It is something that you really have to plan ahead on and know where you're going and where you're headed. And I will always say that we know that no program knows our students. So you have to be mindful of utilizing the program only and with fidelity, because it doesn't know the 2025 students that are in front of us every day.
So, say that one more time. So if I had UFLI,
Yes.
and I'm just marching through all the
Yes.
lessons, and I'm feeling pretty good that I did it with fidelity, I'm not hitting it like I could be.
Absolutely correct. Your students are not going to grow the way they need to grow based on what you know that they need, because UFLI doesn't know what my students need in the realm
And it's
of.
good, and let me preface that to say, I am thrilled that they are now approving that for our small groups.
Right.
Because used to, it was just our intervention for MTSS, and it's a great, great resource.
Right.
But I wanted to make sure I heard her right. Even if we do it with fidelity, it's not going to hit all the nuggets that we need.
Not at all. So this UFLI small group note catcher I just made today for you guys to jot some notes in about like how many minutes each one takes, and how you can use it and utilize it in your class. We already know UFLI and the science of reading is the decoding part. If you want to talk more about the simple view of reading, we can anytime you like to. You have, does everyone here have a UFLI book in your rooms? You want one right now? No, some of us don't.
Fifth grade is not. We turned ours over so that the younger one.
Okay, okay,
And I was fifth grade last
okay.
year. I was two.
Okay, so we'll talk with Dr. Von Cannon about how we can get you some of these materials.
Yeah, and we'll get you all one.
Important pages, I'm not gonna really go over these, but it does have an implementation guide, a core lesson plan, a grade level scope and sequence for K-5 actually. But more 3-5 is how we know we have students that don't come on the level that they're supposed to. So as a fifth grade teacher, as a kindergarten teacher, I had fifth grade teachers coming to me asking for alphabet charts and Elkona boxes. So I know it is a way for you guys to utilize all of that in the glasses. So UFLI has 31 total lessons, but 28 new concepts are taught in UFLI. It is between like a 2-day breakdown, and I'll show you how I did it and also how UFLI says to do it, what worked for me. So here are all the materials that you would need to implement UFLI with fidelity based on UFLI's design. So our lesson plans have 8 steps. So step 1 is the phonemic awareness. That's just like the hearing it. They're isolating those sounds and they're playing with like those phonemes, so like that single isolation of sounds. And then we have the visual drill. Those are these cards. They don't have to look like this, but these are the ones that from OG that I'm familiar with using. Is visually looking at these and saying the sounds or identifying the letter. The auditory drill is step 3, which this is our review. Now the auditory drill, I will say that that is also the writing. So if I say the sound, tell me the letter that says sound or the letter that says sound, then if they have learned that CK, C, and K make that sound, then they will write all 3 of those once they've gone through that scope and sequence. The blending drill is for fluency and automaticity. So that is like kind of changing out one sound like a minimal contrast list, and if it's stop and then the next word is stop, they should be able to blend those fluently. A new concept, you're introducing something new, a review, and then you have word work, irregular words, like your heart words, and then in a decodable. So in order to make this more meaningful for you, Me and Starla kind of talked about, because we both participated in some core phonics survey work and some assessments. So we were able to take an assessment that we did this year and kind of apply it to how we would utilize it to meet the needs of our students by looking at the data. So based on the beginning of the year pass Form A, this student in phonological need was substituting the middle sounds in words. UFLI doesn't know that. So if I'm going to lesson 95, the words that they're giving me to support my students might not have anything to do with the short vowel sounds or any substituting of the vowels. So that is another way where I'm like, I need to make sure that when I'm doing these, it needs to my students. And then for phonics work, that variant vowel AU and AW was a struggle for this student. So that's exactly where I went to kind of support my students. And here, ta-da, is Unionville's variant vowel phonics bank. So I went right to it and I linked it there for you. And I also linked the lesson where you will find this in UFLI. So we're gonna go by in order so you can take notes or whatever. Stop me whenever you need to. I get it. So the phonemic awareness part is just the hearing and saying the sounds. Now this is how we start our lessons. So I might say, tell me all the sounds you hear in the word fish. And your students would say, fish. Fish. Some tap it, some stomp it, some clap it, some burp it, whatever. However they do it, they get it done. Now the difference is you have where they're blending and you might tell them all the sounds and they tell you the word. So if I say, tell me the word after I give you all of these sounds. Ready? Fish. Bugs. Stop. That is the same thing, right? So they're segmenting and they have to break apart the sounds and then they have to blend based on me telling them the sounds and they're putting it together. Again, for phonemic awareness, it says that this should only be 2 minutes. And I am telling you now, on the record, off the record, I didn't do this in my UFLI lesson because this was incorporated throughout our day. In my classroom, we wouldn't move from the carpet to the table without breaking apart a word, putting a word together, having a dictated sentence, something like that. So I would say to my kids, when you tell me all the sounds in the word black, then we'll move. Ready? Black, black. Okay, now go. So because I didn't just say that this is the only time we're gonna manipulate sounds, that I didn't need to do it at this point, I think. So I gave me extra time. Any questions? Anything? Remember, that is 2 minutes. 2 minutes. This is out there. So this is what it would look like in your book, how to blend, and then the segmenting. And then, ta-da! I'm gonna say it every time we get to the phonics bank. This is exactly what is in your phonics bank for Unionville. I took this spot, I just snipped it and I put it right in. This is what I would use instead of what UFLI has for this lesson because we already know from our core beginning of the year assessment that this student needs that middle sound. She's substituting those middle sounds. So guess what? I searched that, I went into your phonics bank and I found exactly what I can use for your student. It is still working with those sounds, but guess what? It is something that I know that it's gonna target to grow my students. So those two together, we have the step 2 and step 3 are the visual and auditory drill. They are kind of together because they go really fast. The visual drill, which is next, is supposed to be no more than 3 minutes. The auditory drill is no more than 5 minutes. And I'll say again, I didn't touch on these two too much because that was just a part of our day at all times. As far as the visual drill, that is seeing these cards. And this, again, comes with being prepared. So just having these cards, and a lot of people do it a lot of different ways. How I would normally do it is I would not pick all 52 plus. I would pick what my students kind of needed at the time, or I would try to get through all of these during the day. So sometimes just lining up for recess, I would go through. Once we get 10, then we can go to recess. So it was just like all day incorporated, but I'll tell you that it's just the graphics. It is just identifying the sound or the letter in these cards, just going through. So for my students, I would just say, and they would go, B says B, T says T. So it was quick and it was fast and it was to the point. If I heard T says tuh, like we getting ready for like a hoedown, I would stop because that's what it says to do. Make sure you model correct responses. Do not let them add that sure on and let them go off. You need to address it, correct it, and have them do it again. Now the auditory, the visual drill. One thing I want to let you guys know is that even in UFLI, the slides that they give, they're going to give you a visual drill. But those letters that they give you might not apply to your students. In this lesson, they gave me double F, which was a false rule. My student doesn't need it. This student might need more work on vowel teams or my short vowels. So that is what I'm going to take out of those slides and put in. You can type right in them or have in my cards. I'm not selecting what UFLI says. We're still doing the visual and the auditory, but it's based on what my students in this group needs. The auditory drill, I cannot stress enough the importance of this one because now I'm telling you the sound and you have to write the letters that are attached to that sound. One thing I will say that I see a lot of is our students are on whiteboards that do look like this. But we know, whether we want to talk about it or not, because I've been a kindergarten teacher and a first grade teacher and I've supported in all the grades, that if the students are laborious in handwriting, it's going to affect their volume. It is going to affect how they write, how long it takes, and all of that. So in our K2 land, we've really beefed up that handwriting, and you'll see them soar. So every time we did an auditory drill, every time I wanted them to write lines, whatever, it was always on primary lines. And I'll tell you right now, if you don't, I didn't have time to clean this. I took this from start. I was just listening. And I took this from start and I was like, I'll clean it, and I just forgot. This is my first time thinking about it again. But we always use this because we just want to get them familiar with being staying in the blue. My kids would say, stay in the blue and stay in the red. So you would have to figure out a way that you're always able to have them write. Anytime they would write, if it was literacy, they would write on this side. So we would take these sheets that were printed and we would put them in sleeves if we had to, if we did not have boards. So I would seriously think about considering
Does
that.
anybody have boards with the colored lines on them?
Yes.
Yeah.